Big Balls Bob. Not to be confused with Tiny Balls Todd.
I do have a body. It's very fantastic. More of a temple, really, than a body.
I can't tell if he's doing a bit or not.
I'm glad you brought that point up because
Todd's a pussy.
It's right next to Todd's OnlyFans.
It's on the internet.
Yeah, Todd's not dumb. I tried to get in a high honest English class once, and they called my parents and were like, "Hey, just tell him he can't do it." It shows. It really shows. I'm a dumbass, and I'm sorry.
The first time we've been let out of mom's basement, right?
Oh, no, I'm still in mom's basement, actually.
I hate you guys so much.
I'm going to throw these two guys into the screen so that if I die, they can carry on the legacy of crap that is this show.
Well, guys, here we are again. The end of a winding road of a season, finishing in disappointment at Lambeau Field once more. This is Lombardi's Bar. I am your bartender, Dan Kotick. And we are brought to you by our friends at Artec Ventures. The goal at Artec Ventures is to collaborate closely with founders throughout all the investment and fundraising stages, turning their visions into successful companies. Since 2020, Artec Ventures has helped turn great ideas into profitable businesses that make an impact on industries, communities, and beyond. Visit artecventures.com for more information. Folks, we're going to have a little therapy session today, figure out what the future might look like for your Green Bay Packers, and just talk about life. I'm feeling very meta today. I'm not sure why. Who knows? Let's get the drink special in here for today. The drink special for today at Lombardi's Bar is just a cheers to the off season. The off season's coming up here. What does that include? What does this mean? We're going to tell you all about the great drink specials, all this stuff that's coming up in the off season. There's more games coming up. There's the draft. There's a free agency, all of that great stuff. But you get to watch everybody enjoy them first, because that's what we're doing now. We're getting to enjoy watching everybody else enjoy the stuff that we should have been friggin' doing. Let's get into this. Let's get these two guys in here. It's Todd Varney. It's Jimmy Christensen. Guys, how are you
Whoa, I'm sorry. Please introduce me correctly, Dan.
Brand new father, Todd Varney.
No, that ain't me.
Two-time MVP, Todd Varney.
Thank you. Little fucking respect would be nice.
I didn't know which way the joke was going.
Anyways,
It's not a joke. That's real life.
Todd, do you have an announcement for the people?
Yeah, we do have some big news here. Dan, would you like to take it, or Jimmy, run away with it?
No, I'm good, Todd. That's why I passed it to you.
All right, it's yours, Dan.
Okay. Late Monday morning, Todd Varney's third child, aka my first, was welcomed into the world. Little Howard Robert Kotnick made his debut on Monday. So you can switch it. I'll switch the Twitter handle today from Danny Dimes to Daddy Dimes, as Labo has graciously started calling me. So little Howard Kotnick is here, the newest little NFL owner.
Real quick, is the middle name named after Uncle Bob?
Time to dry out, brother.
Time to dry out, Howard.
My uncle is technically I think he's technically a junior. My grandpa was Robert as well. Okay. And so is Kelsey's grandpa on her side as well. So it's both Rob. There's a lot of Roberts. There's a lot of Roberts across both families. So
is it
there's a
her,
sliver.
Is it her grandpa or your grandpa?
Or your uncle? You have to pick one.
Oh no, you got to pick one. That's trash.
You can't pick all of them. Who's it named after?
Oh, it's an equal split. It's like a boardroom.
Big Balls Bob.
Big Balls Bob. Howard Big Balls Bob. But no, that's cool. Winnie's middle name's Robert too, after my grandpa. So we're pretty much twins.
That's really cool.
You know, when it's Todd's kids, we kind of have to keep it somewhat.
We got to keep it consistent
unanimous,
so he remembers which ones they are. Yeah.
He just yells out Robert. He knows one of them's gonna answer.
Yeah. Well, it makes it easy for me to have to like navigate the relationships. I just
Of course.
keep them all
That's-
similar.
That's the important part here, Todd.
It's all about me.
There's been so much that's happened in the last 48 hours. The most important thing is making sure you're handling everything in the change as well. That's the most important.
That's key.
part.
That is key to success. Keep
Just
mom
as
happy, keep
uninvolved
Todd
as ever.
happy. Everything else is smooth sailing.
Dear God.
There was no smooth sailing on Saturday, guys.
Ooh, good transition.
That sucked. That absolutely freaking sucked. I don't know about you guys. I was literally an emotional wreck all day leading up to that game. I did not feel good about that game. Something about it just stuck out to me, and I don't know, man. I was like I said, like I was a wreck. I was expecting not like a, I was expecting a rough game. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting any of that.
Well, I was the same way as you. Like I went into it super nervous. I would text Todd and have him kind of pep me up a little bit. And then the first drive happened and I looked at my dad. I was like, oh, why the fuck was I nervous? This is gonna be such a good game. And then it went from extremely anxious to extremely confident to just slowly going back down into the I hate my life realm. What a great weekend of football, but that really fucked it up for me because I hated everything else.
It was. That's the part that really sucked. All the other games this weekend, all the other divisional games, really fun, really entertaining to watch. And I'm sure as like an impassive observer, not one of us, that Saturday night game was pretty fun to watch too, to an extent. But man, oh man, like I'm with you. Like after that first, once you get one offensive, one defensive drive, I feel like I know how things are going to play out. And I was like, we're going to get after this guy and we're going to move the ball down the field and it's going to be fine.
At that point, I was feeling very smart about how confident I was all week. I was like, this is easy pickings. Let's do it. I was told this defense was elite. Where's that at? They showed up shortly after that.
Mm-hmm.
I was it was rough. I wasn't emotional. Like I don't ride that wave too much. I think one thing that really helped with that was the roads were absolute trash on the way home. So my normal like 2.5, 3 hour drive with usually it's 2 hours up. And then with stadium traffic coming back, it's usually about 2.5, 3. It was 4.5. So that was brutal. Lots of roads that hadn't seen a snow plow. So I was pretty focused on keeping my car out of the ditch and didn't really have time to think about the game a ton, which was solid.
Shout out to this guy watching at 4 a.m. in Ireland.
Yeah, mad respect to everybody, all the Packer fans over in the UK and England and all of that, staying up to watch that trash heap of a game. Nick and our thing, producer Nick almost kicking a hole in his living room wall at the end of the first half. I liked Iowa Joe's comment there because I feel like that's something that I sort of felt was that a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of people on social media were just kind of like expecting like this is just the first game before we get to the NFC Championship game. And once we get to the NFC Championship game, then we'll figure things out or, we'll work it out when we get there. And yeah, that's what I didn't like. That's what really threw me off. And then, man, oh man, it's seriously not until they kicked the extra point to tie the game did I feel like that they were going to lose.
But even then you had that sense of like, well, whatever. We have Rodgers. Like he's going to be another MVP this season, back to back. Like we're going to be fine. Like they're going to figure it out. We'll get a field goal. It's whatever. And then it's just sputtered out. But Todd, since you were actually in the stadium, like what was the fan atmosphere like from after we scored that first touchdown? Was like there a moment in the game where it all kind of like dropped off where they're like, oh fuck, maybe we are going to lose this? Or did that not happen to the end of the game?
No, there was a weird feeling after the big dog fumble I mean, that early where it was just kind of like, and that was probably because, I mean, the place was absolutely insane before that. I mean, the Packers walked down the field, punched it in the end zone, no problem. Came out, had a big stop. Z got a big sack there, first play in, and the place was just rocking. And then they come out and looks like they're, like, okay, cool. Let's just do that again. It was so easy the first time. Just walk down the field, put it in the end zone again. Let's go 14-0. Wait, hold on. Changing plans. And the place kind of deflated at that point. It was still loud. It was still rocking. I mean, most of the night it was going. I've never heard Lambeau that loud, which kind of now leads me to believe and looking at the home field advantage, over the last, 7-7 in the last 14. And hearing it as loud as it was the other night, like, I don't know that that's an actual thing anymore.
Honestly, wouldn't you rather have Rodgers in a dome? Like,
I've been fucking saying it all year, Jimmy. Put a lid on that place.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, I would feel just as confident if Rodgers is playing, let's say, in the Saints dome in a playoff game, because conditions are right. The best two teams are going out there. I do not think there was a better NFL team this year going into the playoffs than the Green Bay Packers. And you put the two best team out there. Clearly, I know I really can't say that now because you just fucking lost to the 49ers, but in perfect conditions, both teams play their best game. It's the Packers. Obviously, that's a fucking fantasy world, but I really thought they were, like we've all said multiple times, this felt like our year. Like, it had a weird Bucks winning the championship this year. It felt like that was just what was going to happen. And like Michael said in the thing right there, they scored 10 points. Like, it just didn't happen. And to kind of go off his point, how big of a loss do you think AJ Dillon getting hurt was? Like, that I think was a huge, I know big dog fumbling, but that was so early in the game. But AJ Dillon going out to where you can't get that solid running through people 4 or 5 yards every carry. I think once he went out, that's when my confidence really went from, okay, we could still win this, to like, we're fucked. Because AJ Dillon is that cold weather guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's what he's here for, is, that 6-minute drill when we get the ball and we just need to get the clock moving and pick up chunk yards on first and second down, throw it to convert a short and third, or a third and short if we need to, and then get back to running the ball. And not having him there, LaFleur kept trying to run the ball still with Jones up the middle. And at some point, you've got to try something different. I mean, whether you try to get him out on an edge, you could see the guys just weren't getting to the second level fast enough, which, whether they were, tired, couldn't get footing, whatever it was, or also Fred Warner's pretty damn good and pretty quick in the middle. So if you can't get a hat to him, your run game's not going to work regardless of where you're going with it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's weird to think about, like, if that injury had been to Aaron Jones and not AJ Dillon. I think that changes the complete outcome, because now you can have, Patrick Taylor step in and be a pseudo Aaron Jones, but just AJ Dillon. And that's, I'll just transition right into it. He's my buy around this week. Because like I've said all year, is put this team in the semi truck named AJ Dillon and drive it to the Super Bowl. He was more important to this offensive game plan than a lot of people, I think, outside of Green Bay really appreciated. And I think, as like Michael kind of mentions in the comment, is when an injury like that happens, Aaron and Matt seem to get out of the system. They seem to get out of what works. They don't trust the system anymore when a major piece like that kind of falls. And maybe that is it, because their game plan is to have AJ Dillon run, and it takes the double team off of Devontae Adams. It opens the offense up a little bit more, and they're just trying to, to do it, and they panic when he's gone. I don't know, but either way, I have to buy around for AJ Dillon, because the dude played an amazing season. An outstanding season for AJ Dillon as a second year guy. And to go down in a place like that, and not just in a place like that, but to have it be from a friendly fire hit on kickoff coverage because special teams has been playing so poorly.
That's the thing. He shouldn't even be on special teams.
Right.
A person that vital to your offense should
Right.
not have to play special teams. But because it's been so shitty, we're putting people like Rasul Douglas has been playing special teams. Like, we have to put players that if they get hurt on special teams, completely jeopardizes your team, all because it's been so poor this year.
Mhm.
Like, that's the part that's so fucked up, is like, that should never have been a situation. AJ Dillon should have been enjoying his warm coat on the sideline before he froze his ass off running for a touchdown. Like, that shouldn't have been a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Before we move any further, reminder that Buy Round segment here on Lombardi's Bar is brought to you by our friends at Lakefront Brewery. It's one of Wisconsin's largest craft breweries. Since its founding in 1987 by brothers Russ and Jim Klisch, Lakefront has earned numerous awards and created many industry firsts. Lakefront Brewery's tours are among the most popular in the United States, with over 100,000 guests taking the tour yearly. Brewing flavorful, high-quality craft beer has been their passion for over 30 years, and they'd love to tell you their story over a pint and a tour. Next time you're in Milwaukee, visit lakefrontbrewery.com to schedule your tour today. Jimmy, do you want to take us into your buy around from the divisional loss?
Yeah. My buy the round is more so not because they played well, and that this isn't on them at all. Mainly because I feel bad for them of, excuse me, the Packers wide receivers not named Devontae Adams. Like, at some point during that game, they had to just think to themselves, why am I running these routes? Like, why am I out here? The ball's not coming to me. I had Randall Cobb targeted once. Alan Lazard targeted once. At some point, they're like, well, what the fuck's the point of this?
Yeah.
Like, you guys, there multiple times you were open. Kurt Warner pointed out when he did a breakdown of the film on Twitter, like, Lazard was open a couple times. I know DeGuara is not a wide receiver, but he was open sometimes. He didn't get the ball to him. There's windows for them to get the ball. But as multiple people mentioned in the comments, Rodgers is really fixated on Devontae, understandably, because he's top two, not two. But it just sucks. Like, this whole thing was like, hey, let's get Cobb a ring, emotional return, target him one time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There has to be some frustration. I know we have a lot of really great team mentality players, but at some point you have to think, why the fuck are you not throwing me the ball at least more than one time a game? When especially Lazard, 5 touchdowns in December. He should have been targeted more than one time in the entire game. It's just crazy. So I'll buy you guys whatever you want. I'll go broke for it. You deserve it. Heck of a game. Sorry I didn't get more targets.
Yeah, I think I saw the stat was like 70 routes run between DeGuara, Cobb, and Lazard or something like that, and it was like maybe one target or one catch, 3 targets, something like that. Like,
yeah, it wasn't great.
You can't do that, man. And that's what I don't get is, like, we'll get into more of it, but yeah, that's one of the ones that really sticks out to me. Todd, what about you? Who are you buying around for?
I'm going to go with Big Dog, Mercedes Lewis. The guy's had a hell of a career.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if it's over or not at this point. I would guess it probably is. And for him to go out, last catch of his career, turns into a fumble, stops the momentum early in the game on what looks like it could have just completely been a runaway win at that point. You got to feel for him. You know, everybody in that locker room loves him. Everybody that's ever been his teammate is, sang his praises. You just feel bad for a guy that's had the career he has to go out like that. So hopefully it's not the end for him, but it looks like it probably is.
Yeah. Especially if 12's gone.
Yeah.
If 12's back, maybe they want to try as people have been saying, last dance part 2. But yeah, if Rodgers is gone, there's no reason for Big Dog to want to stay around.
Yeah. I like this one. It has to talk about Gary. Outside of buy rounds, outside of the buy rounds for the pities that were the pity buy rounds are given.
Yeah, these are all really
these are ones that are these are ones that are actually good. Rashawn Gary had an amazing season this year, and he did it again in this week. And I think that everyone on draft night, and I'll throw myself into that bus again. I wasn't crazy about the pick, especially right there. I think he's really proved everybody wrong, and he's a future all-star on this team.
Put
if
cheese
not
on
already.
everything. Also, it seems like we might need to have Michael on the show because he seems a lot smarter than all of us already. Just
Well, that's
based
why
off,
we
like,
can't have him on the show.
Yeah, good point. Good point. That'll make us look really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's that's where we go.
That's a really good one right there. Amari for not messing up.
Yeah. And actually was like
catching out of bounds.
That's all fair catch it or catch it and run out of bounds. That's all you need to do.
he was almost the highlight of all the special teams. Out of everyone's special teams.
He really
didn't do anything. He just didn't fuck up. And that's all we needed.
Literally, that's the job of special teams. Just don't fuck up.
Right.
So great segue, Dan. Let's jump into my pay the tab.
Let's get into taking it, Todd. Take it away, please.
Surprise, surprise. It's fucking special teams, you guys. With an emphasis on whatever the punter's name is. I looked at it. He was on the field for 9 snaps. That had a blocked field goal, a blocked punt, and a shank. And if I wanted to be an asshole, I would mention the delay of game penalty that he was on the field for, which I want to be an asshole, so I will mention that as well. 4 of the 9 plays that he was on the field for were negative plays. It's incredible that you're that bad.
Can we pause for a second? It's really hard for me to listen to anything you're saying when I know how much you hate AJ Hawk. He said you're AJ Hawk's brother, and that's all I can focus on. I'm so sorry. I just had to point that out. Continue.
Like I was saying. Yeah, AJ Hawk's a good-looking guy. I won't argue with that one. If you're into weird-looking dudes. So it was just like there's a kickoff return that they had. Like everything that could have went wrong did, except Amari Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, special teams, pay the tab, get the fuck out.
That's bad. Like, are you a little surprised that they haven't fired Murray Strayton yet?
No, it's not going to be a reactive thing. They're going to go through the exit interview process. They're going to sit down and look through everything they can and see how it goes, and then to just move on.
I don't know. You know what I really would have loved? A reactionary fucking firing. That's what I want. I want blood, God damn it.
See, but at this point, it wouldn't be reactionary. It's been multiple weeks.
This is not reactionary anymore. This is a consistent level of suck.
To a point, but I think also after the game that they just had, if you fire him right now, you're going to have people coming out saying Matt LaFleur is making him the scapegoat because the offense failed in this game.
What? Maybe he should be the fucking scapegoat.
He absolutely is. And I think people know that, regardless of how many players or former players come out and say, it wasn't the coaching, trust me. When you can't get 10 guys on the field for a field goal block attempt, when the game winning
game on the line,
season on the line, and you haven't coached your guys well enough to know who the fuck is supposed to be out there. I mean, that's on you. But having said that, Matt LaFleur is not the kind of guy that's going to make someone else appear to be the scapegoat for anything. He's going to put this on him and go from there.
Yeah, I enjoy that in the private chat. Producer Nick is having his own private vent session.
It's incredible.
They could have put 13 on the field and it wouldn't have made a difference. You are correct.
That is very true. Jimmy, who needs to pay the tab for you?
Let me look what the fuck I put. There's so many people. At one point I was saying to you guys before this, I really wanted to put the whole fucking team minus the defense.
Yeah.
At this, I just want to blame someone other than a Packer person right now.
Okay.
And those are 2 fumbles back to back that we did not get. Obviously, we can't have 2 fumbles back to back, but they stopped the forward progress, ended up being a fumble. Bullshit. Then that catch that they knocked the ball out should have been a fumble. They ended up saying it was an incomplete pass. Those were the momentum shifts. That would have given us great field position. I still think, especially more so the first one than the second one. I don't think they should have stopped the forward progress there. People from both sides were going in to try to move the pile. Like, I think that was a premature whistle, 1,000% bias. I'm well aware of it. And I wish just one of those fucking fumbles could have changed the entire game. Fuck the refs. And oh my gosh, I hate talking about this game. It's making me so pissed off right now. But whatever refs decided not to give us one of those fumbles, pay the tab.
Yeah, I agree. I think I lean more towards the second one was the one I more thought should have gone the way of the Packers. That is still close, but the forward progress one is always a funky thing. You never know what the heck they're going to do with it, you know.
It's just to go off your point with the second one being the most likely, or the whatever, there wasn't evidence, like clear evidence to overrule it. That's the thing. Like, you called it on the field that way. It wasn't completely obvious. You have to stick with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Producer Nick again in the chat to himself. What the hell's the point of having home field advantage if you don't get a few calls to go your way? Exactly.
I mean,
you get it.
That's a like sort of scientifically backed up statement.
It was published in the CDC last week.
It's no, you go look, like,
stick to sports, Jimmy.
Referees tend to favor home field teams a little bit more because just there's that, you know, unconscious bias of wanting the big group of people to not hate you. You want that positive reaction, you know? So I think that's something we could talk about down the road. But
we got Uncle Bob in the house.
Great Uncle Bob times 4.
Great Uncle Bob.
Congrats on Robert named after you. Dan mentioned it wasn't anybody else. Only you, Uncle Bob.
Yeah. My pay the tab is Aaron Rodgers. And I'll tell you what, man,
correct.
I'm not a burn the jersey guy. I'm not, you know, fire and brimstone, you know, anything like that. But like, to see you come out at home after years of saying all you wanted was a home field advantage run through the playoffs, an NFC championship game at home, and this was your best chance. This was your best opportunity to do anything. Really, honestly, probably the rest of your career. First time Lambeau Field is full for a playoff game since what? The Seahawks game? That last Seahawks game from 2 years ago?
Yep.
And you came out and just pulled your pants down and showed your ass on national television. There should be no circumstance where your defense gets a stop on 4th and 1 with 5 minutes left and you are up by a touchdown, where literally all you need is just any points to make this a 2-score game, essentially. And you come out with a 3 and out with taking less than 30 seconds off of the clock. Everyone rightly is angry at special teams, but Aaron Rodgers and this offense put the game in a situation that allowed it to be decided by terrible special teams because you didn't go out and you didn't execute. You didn't do your job. And then on top of it, what I don't want to freaking hear is you on the Pat McAfee show talking about how you were so proud of the adversity that you overcame this whole season and how it was just this amazing journey to get to this point, and you're so bummed. But you don't want to be a part of a rebuild, though. You don't want to be a part of a rebuild. I'm sorry. At a certain point, we need to start asking ourselves, is Aaron Rodgers good enough in the playoffs to be saying that kind of stuff to everybody? Because so far, the last decade or so, you really haven't shown that you're a good enough quarterback to be kind of throwing that out there that you're too good to be a part of a rebuild. Maybe you aren't. Maybe you're more Phillip Rivers and you can shut up, not go say everything you want to say for a good 45 minutes every freaking week, and just go out and play football and just do your goddamn job. Because if you did that, we're talking about a game where we're hosting the freaking Rams at Lambeau on Sunday. If you did your goddamn job.
Yep. Look at that rant. No, my thing, like, you can say whatever the fuck you want every week. I do not care. But like you said, then do your job.
Right.
The one thing I've been very like, I don't care what Roger said. The one thing that annoyed me when he was like, people want me to lose because of my status and all that. That's fucking sports. Like I put on Twitter, I want Patrick Mahomes to lose because his brother's a jackass. Like that's just part of it.
Yeah.
People are going to want you to lose for really stupid fucking reasons. Like whatever, man. It's still, you're the back-to-back MVP, most likely. You had to come out here. You can't put up 10 points. Special teams sucks. Like you said, we knew they sucked. We didn't think Aaron Rodgers would have a horrible performance like this, especially after that first drive. If you like to go from that point to the rest of the game for over 50 minutes, he scored 3 points. That's unacceptable. Like you can't be one of the best quarterbacks in the league and only score 3 points in 50 plus minutes. I know the 49ers have a great defense, but all these years, all we've been saying is if we just gave Aaron Rodgers the defense, if we just had home field advantage, we had fucking both. And then we come out and shit the bed like that.
And their defense wasn't that good. Their secondary was very suspect.
The problem was they took away Devontae. They made sure they took away Devontae, and then that just I don't know if
what are you paying Aaron Jones for? What do we pay? I'm with you.
I don't know if it was the drop by DeGuara that all suddenly made it be like I just take away his trust or like make him more hesitant to throw to people he might not trust. But man, that was tough.
It almost, and this is maybe I'm projecting, maybe this is, whatever.
No, go off.
But it almost feels like Aaron Rodgers, when he gets into a situation like this, where he's the favorite, where he is at home and things are going his way, it's almost like he clams up in those kind of games. Think about the big games. Think about the big Aaron Rodgers moment games. How many of them came at Lambeau? Think about the throw to Cook. Think about Arizona. Think about the run to the Super Bowl. None of those games came at Lambeau. None of those games came in situations where people were expecting you to win. And it feels like when he gets into these situations where he's the number 1 seed and the expectation is being set for you to have that, it's almost like when he gets into tough situations in there, he clams up because of the expectation. I don't know.
All that being said, I hope you're my quarterback next year's Rodgers.
Yep. That'd be nice.
Anyway.
Todd, can I a question to both of you. You have the blame. What percent do you give the special teams? What percent do you give Rodgers? You cannot go 50-50.
I go 60-40 Rodgers special teams.
I think I'm probably going to go higher than that. Probably 75 on Rodgers. I mean, we knew special teams was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going into this, like thinking if special teams gives up a touchdown, but our defense only gives up a field goal, hell, even give them the game, a field goal at the end. They give up 2 field goals. This offense should be able to score 14 points and still win that game. That shouldn't be a problem. At home, prime time. San Francisco's traveling on a short week. It's cold. You've got the fans there making noise like you want to. Like, you've got everything going in your favor, and that's what you come up with. So while, yeah, special teams did absolutely screw the pooch, when you look at it and you go, they missed a field goal, we were still up, right? They gave up a touchdown that tied it. There was still no fight left in our offense at any point to come down. I mean, even if you look at, there's more coulda, shoulda, wouldas from the 49ers. You look at the drops that they had, the passes that Garoppolo had behind guys, the interception. If that was thrown a second earlier, then that's a touchdown right there going into half. Like, I think San Francisco legitimately could have won this game by double digits. They had more opportunities to do that than the Packers did in this game.
Yeah. Emma brings up a really good point. They won 13 games despite bad special teams. They've been able to overcome special teams before. So it's not like special teams has been it's not like this team is 9-8 and it's, how will special teams lose it this week? It's been, we know special teams is bad and we've had to overcome it. And so that's the situation.
Yeah.
You got to play to that level.
Oh, absolutely. And then True North Packers fan put, how much is LaFleur to blame? Obviously, you have to put some of it on there because the quarterback has to execute it, but still you have to put him in a position. But then you also have to factor in like how many plays were available to move the chain. Like, I really encourage everyone to watch that Kurt Warner film breakdown because he showed multiple times on third down situations where open players were ignored for a first down because Rodgers was too fixated on Adams. Like, if you were too focused on certain players and you're not getting through your reads in time, it really doesn't matter the game plan or the plays that you have drawn up if the reads aren't being done in time and the timing's off. Like, especially in LaFleur's offense, it's all about timing. If it's not there, then that's kind of more so on the quarterback, I would say. But obviously LaFleur has to take some of the blame. Like you said in his pressers, he takes all that blame because I really do think he's a great coach. Obviously, you have 3 seasons in a row, 13 wins. He's a great coach. He's a great leader. Definitely give him some of the blame, but it is also on the players to execute. You don't get to the position they are in, number 1 seed, if you don't have a good offensive plan throughout the whole year to get to that point.
I mean, Tyler Lancaster with the Olay block on that field goal attempt. You blocked nobody. 2 guys got through. You tried to block 2 guys, you blocked no guys. One final point on this before we move on with the Matt LaFleur thing. Uncle Bob kind of mentioned it. Matt LaFleur is the guy that hired Mo Drayton in-house. They're the ones making the roster moves to bring these guys up and to move them, and they're the ones that are churning that bottom of the roster. Those are your special teams guys. So part of that blame for the special teams has to fall on Matt LaFleur's head coach because he's the one that made that choice to keep Mo Drayton and not source that out to anybody else before the season got started.
Well, and I think there's a good point there too, Dan. We've said, throughout this season, you look back to the last few seasons under Ted Thompson, and the fringes of this team are so much better now than they were back then.
Yeah.
The corner depth, the linebacker depth, wherever you want to look, the depth is better than it was under Ted Thompson. And it's those fringe guys that make up your special teams. How are they that bad when they're better athletes? They're better football players. They're better at what they do, yet they're terrible on special teams. At some point, is that coaching, or is that, hey, we've got guys that are really good safeties, but they don't understand special teams? We've got guys that are okay, like an Oren Burks. He's okay at playing linebacker-ish sometimes, but he's terrible at special teams. But you've got to put him out there in special teams because otherwise you put Devondre Campbell out there. Like
Or AJ Dillon.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Joe Judge, hopefully I see you next year.
Let's move on to talking about the future of this team. We're looking ahead to now the off season. There's a lot of stuff it's gonna be. We thought last year was gonna be rough. This is gonna suck. This is gonna suck eggs. Mike Riedersdorf put up this, and it's a rather large comment. I'm not sure how well it's gonna show up on the.
He had sent it to one of our accounts too. I can read it here. I've got a message with it.
I'll throw this up, and then you go ahead and read it as well, Todd.
I feel like we had the best roster from top to bottom this year in the last decade, maybe even better than the 2010 team. We gave Aaron Rodgers all the tools he needed to win a Super Bowl, and at the end of the day, he didn't get it done. If he can't play well enough in the playoffs with arguably the best roster in the last decade or two, then what are we doing? Why are we continuing to have a discussion about this guy leading this team out there in the playoffs? This has been a complete and utter institutional organizational failure. What we saw Saturday night was a complete failure of the system not working. My question to you guys, where do the Packers go from here? What can the organization do to bring home a championship? What we're doing clearly isn't working. What is the answer?
Damn, Mike.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
We should have saved that whole question for a special episode. We could go a full hour on all of that.
As far as institutional failure, I don't buy on that. If you look at quarterbacks with multiple rings, there's 7. Okay. There are 20 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame from the modern era that have less than 2 rings. So the standard is a quarterback winning 1 Super Bowl. Tom Brady has broke our brains on what that sounds like and what that means. And you've got, guys like Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Eli Manning played well enough for his defense to win the games that they needed to win. Let's not act like Eli was out there slinging it around.
Right.
Big Ben had fantastic teams around him with great defenses. So while, it would be nice to see these guys win multiple rings, the goalpost is 1 Super Bowl, and that's where it stays. You can't keep moving it to fit the narrative of they're not doing enough.
Right.
Having said that, I mean, the recency bias of, Aaron Rodgers played like shit, and now people are diving in and looking at every single shortcoming he's had in the postseason. Coming into this postseason, he was the highest rated quarterback in postseason history of all time. So while the wins may not have been there, let's also remember Mike McCarthy got fired for a reason, because that offense was stale for quite a while and wasn't helping things in the playoffs. I do think Aaron Rodgers struggles, especially in the cold, and pretends like he doesn't, which is definitely something that hurts when you get a home game in the playoffs. But I think as far as where this team goes from here, if you look at what's on this roster outside of Rodgers and outside of Devontae, there's a damn good football team here. They've got some key pieces. It's a matter of, how do they make it work with the salary cap and go forward. But I have full faith in Brian Gutekunst, Russ Ball, Matt LaFleur, that these are the right guys at the top to run this organization moving forward from a football perspective. And that's where we go next is we open up the accounting files and go, okay, who's gone? How do we make this work? And if we can fit 12 and 17 in, then fantastic. And we're going to run it back and build around them. And if we can't, then let's get as much draft capital and as many guys that are on their rookie deals back that can play. And we keep building this thing. And you go out there, I mean, you run it out there with Jordan Love. You've got a team with a defense and a run game. And Eli Manning won a Super Bowl like that. Joe Flacco won Super Bowls like you've got some quarterbacks out there that you've got a run game and a defense, you're going to compete. So I think that's what we're looking at moving forward. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with all of the personnel, but as far as the organization moving forward, I'm fine with them.
I really think the last 2 years, legacy wise, really hurt Rodgers for the reasons of he's been playing at such a high level all this time. And you mentioned going into this game, he had the highest, what did you say, QBR rating of any quarterback?
Yep.
But the last 2 years, like during that time, it was always, we need a defense. It's not his fault. We need a defense. You look at last year, forced multiple turnovers from Tom Brady. Our offense dropped the ball. This year, forced turnover. Our offense dropped the ball. And like, those are the things people are going to remember. Like the recency bias for the next few years are going to look at, they finally got him the defense. And I think that's what's making people so pissed off at Rodgers. And granted, we waited until he's fucking 37, 38 years old to get him that stuff. But still, when you're playing at an MVP level and then you don't perform in that high situation, I think that's what's going to kind of skew the idea of Rodgers. But like going forward, like you mentioned, quarterbacks that weren't really the best at that time, that had a solid defense, a solid run game. You look at the 49ers recently when they lost to the Chiefs. Like the 49ers really should be our blueprint if we move on from Rodgers. You have a mediocre quarterback in Jimmy G. You have a great run game. You have a great defense. If Rodgers leaves, you go all fucking in on defense. Mm-hmm. Like if Devontae goes with them, that's fine. Draft receivers, build them up where you need to. Double down on that defense, have a solid run game, and develop from there. You mentioned Eli Manning, but even Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl, it was all on the defense.
That was defense. Yep.
That was all defense. Like it is possible. Like we're not, I really don't believe we're going to go from being a top team to all suddenly being 4-13. Like it's not going to be that far of a drop off. As long as the team is built around that defense, then I think we're good. And so I guess at this point, it's either if Rodgers come back, do the manipulation you need to, fuck yourself over for next year, I guess, because I think you're going to have to. But if he doesn't, then go all in on defense. Bring Devondre back. Bring Rasul back. Bring one of the Smith brothers. You have Kenny Clark. You have Rashawn. You have Jair. Extend him. For the love of God, extend him. But I think
Kevin King, bring him back. I know you were thinking it. Pro Bowler 2022.
Yep. Give him to the Jaguars. I really think I think this team's fine. Whichever way we go, I think we'll be a playoff team next year.
Yeah. And the thing is, I know I went on this huge long rant about Aaron Rodgers dropping the ball and not being clutch and all of that. But, when it comes down to it, a football season can be decided on one drive. And I don't think a loss here says that there's something wrong with the entire institution at Lombardi Avenue or that there's anything wrong structurally with this team or anything like that. It's just sometimes.
Shout out Matt Pickett.
Yeah.
Pick it.
Sometimes like the season will just come down to one thing. Like if AJ Dillon isn't hurt, we're probably not talking about this. Yeah. And sometimes just the season comes down to situations like that. And it sucks because man, I love it. Bites. It comes down to just situations like that sometimes. And it's the job of Brian Gutekunst, like you were saying, Jimmy, to not let this be the end. Because you're probably gonna let guys like Devondre Campbell probably leave. Zadarius Smith probably leave. And people look at the salary cap and they say, they look at this, doom scrolling list of here's all the guys who may have played their last snap in Green Bay and how are we going to replace them? Well, you know what? We did that before when they came in, when we drafted them, when we brought them in free agency deals. Like that's the job of this team and the front office is to go on and make those changes every single year and not be doom and gloom about what are we going to do if Devondre Campbell and Zadarius and Jair and Devontae, they all leave and what happens. Their job is to replace those guys. Who would have thought that we would have found Devondre Campbell this past year? Who would have thought that we found Rasul Douglas? your job is to go find them again next year, no matter who they are, whether it's those guys or whether it's somebody else to come take their place. And so that's what gives me hope, is that I know this front office is semi-competent, and they'll be able to make the right decisions and make the calls to keep this team playing at a high level. And so what do I think happens? It's really hard for me to say with Aaron Rodgers. Who knows at this point? I think it's either he retires or he plays again. Because I don't think
what? He retires or he plays again? Damn.
With us.
Why would you? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why would you be so controversial right now?
Fucking smart ass.
Taking a risk like that. Okay, continue. Sorry.
He'll either play quarterback for the Packers or he won't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that still gives you 3 options.
Real quick. Jumping up here. True North Packer fan said it. The best thing about drafting Love is that there is a choice there. And one thing that, just prepare yourselves for it right now. If Aaron Rodgers is not on this team when the draft rolls around, which it sounds like he would like to have a decision made by then, and I would assume if his decision is I want to play but not in Green Bay, he will no longer be here so that the Packers can get draft picks out of it. My assumption is that they're going to go heavy on wide receivers in the top of the draft, and to watch people have meltdowns about how the Packers never drafted wide receivers for Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love gets a bunch of top-end wide receivers in his first draft is going to be phenomenal. I'm here for that. That's going to be one of my favorite Twitter meltdowns of all time, is just watching people pull their hair out and the national media go nuts. But having said that, you look back a few years ago, I mean, this team has been able to hit on mid to late round wide receivers. And they took the 3rd round. They took 3 of them a few years ago. And unfortunately, MVS didn't pan out. EQ didn't pan out. And Jamon Moore disappeared. So if one of those guys pans out into a legitimate number 2 wide receiver, you're fine. There's not a discussion here about why are there no other wide receivers on this
Wouldn't you
team.
say, though, MVS did pan out? I don't think MVS was drafted.
He had 3 fucking touchdowns this year.
This year was bad. If you go back to last year,
and he does one thing well, and it's run down the field, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, but where did it's not like they drafted him in the 1st and 2nd round. They drafted him later in the draft, and he was a person to be a vertical threat. I'm not saying
did he develop by the end of his time? I'm assuming he's not coming back next year.
No, he's not coming. I would say no.
But the feelings that I got from him on what he thinks about cold weather, I don't think he's going to be back if he's given the option.
No.
In his final season in Green Bay, was he worth? Can you look at this year and go, he would be worth bringing back next season to be a viable threat on this team, regardless of who the quarterback is? But did he do enough this season to make an impact on this team?
This year, I don't think is the right one to look at because he was hurt, because he wasn't able to play as much. But when you look at other seasons, and I think later on in the draft, you can't really validate getting a second contract. You look at what they produced in the 4 years that you pick them in. And in the 4 years he was here, he was a vertical threat. Rodgers, especially last year when he was healthier, he was a person that Rodgers would go to. Even when he dropped the ball, for some reason, Rodgers still had that trust in him. And in that NFC Championship game, he was the guy to even put us in that situation we were in to win the game eventually. I just don't think St. Brown didn't pan out. Moore clearly didn't pan out. But MVS, for the position he was picked in, I think did a pretty solid job of doing his role of being, hey, you're a vertical threat. That's your job on this offense. You don't even need to be number 2 because I think Lazard kind of developed into that situation. But I think to say MVS didn't really pan out, I don't think is fair.
At no point did he make enough of an impact on a season that you go that, yeah, no, I would say, and when you're taking those 3 guys, that was legitimately the hope is one of these guys turns into wide receiver 2.
He was a role player at his highest level.
At his highest, and even that he didn't show up for most of the time.
Yeah.
What did we draft him in, the 5th round?
I believe.
But isn't that what you would expect a 5th round pick to be? You don't expect him to be
right,
a
but
one or
if
two. It's a role
But
player.
I think ultimately what the point Todd is making is if you're not investing heavily in wide receivers at the top end of the draft, you're expecting that the guys that you will draft will elevate at least slightly above their draft position, because that's what you're kind of hoping for with guys like that. With guys later in the position, like linebackers or offensive linemen or defensive linemen, you know, the non-skill position players, you're hoping that maybe you hit on one or they become pretty good special teams guys or something like that. If it's a running back or a wide receiver, I think ultimately you're hoping that they, and especially again, if the strategy is not to draft those skill positions high, those late end draft picks have to elevate themselves at least a slightly above that kind of role player 5th round stats. They have to get a little bit above that, because that's where you need to hit. It's not the 1st round picks anymore. It's those picks there that you need to hit on. And I think something to kind of mention, it goes back to the point, I think it was Iowa Joe or True North threw in here about Jordan Love, drafting Jordan Love and giving the options. You have to go back the last couple of years and give major credit to Brian Gutekunst and this front office with the way that they've drafted. People questioned the picks, questioned why they went this way. It gave them the options at this point right here. It gave them the option last year, and it gave them an option again this year to move on from guys and not have to worry about replacing them right away. If you don't draft Rashawn Gary, now you're scrambling to pay either Preston Smith or Za'Darius or both at this point. You know, if you don't draft Josiah DeGuara, now you're scrambling. Do we need to keep Robert Tonyan? Is this the point? If you don't draft AJ Dillon, last year you're scrambling to keep both Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. You know, they've done a lot to keep this team afloat, prepare them for this so that it's not going to be as bad once the, you know, salary cap Pied Piper comes and finally takes its toll. I think it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be tricky this offseason. It's not going to be fun, but I think the trust has been earned by this front office that whatever decision they decide to make, whether it's Rodgers, Devontae, whomever, I think they've earned the trust a little bit that we should just have faith in the plan, in the process.
So to go to kind of what we talked about, this is like, who's going to be back next year? And I see a lot of people in the chat mentioning Za'Darius and Preston. Who do you think is going to be back, or do you think it's going to be neither of them?
I'm leaning towards Preston. I just feel like we saw what happened with Kiki with an attitude issue towards the end of the season. Yep. And I think throughout the year, Za'Darius being, you know, kind of passive aggressively vocal like he was.
Yeah.
I don't think that sat well with the team. Mm-hmm. And for a guy, you know, Preston showed last year, hey, I'm willing to restructure and let's go do that. And Za'Darius talked about it, but then decided to wait and have back surgery until the season was ready to start. So I think things like that go into it. One thing to remember is Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball are really smart guys. Mm-hmm. When they signed the Smith brothers and Billy Turner and Amos, and when they've made draft picks, and when they signed Aaron Jones last year, they look ahead. When they signed those guys, they knew last year and this year were probably our shots to go for it, because they were going to be in cap hell moving forward. And then COVID stunted the growth of the salary cap and has put them in a worse spot where they might have only been, you know, 30 million over the cap heading into next season. Now they're well over, sitting close to 50. So they knew what was happening. They've got a plan in place of how they're going to go about this. I guarantee they've had conversations with agents of, here's what we're looking at come the offseason. You know, is there a conversation to be had with this, or is your guy are you just going to move on? You know, let us know if there's an opening there and we'll start that conversation. And it's not like Russ Ball didn't wake up on Sunday morning and go, oh shit, look at the salary cap. What are we going to do? Like, they've known about this for several years. They sit down and look at, like, okay, let's lay out a 5-year plan. What does this roster look like? Who's under contract right now? Who do we go get? How long are they going to be here? And how long are we tied up with that money?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It sucks that we're having this conversation now. This conversation goes so much better if we're having it after a Super Bowl parade and who's gonna come back, who's gonna retire on top. It really sucks because, like you said, this. I don't know about you guys. I went into this the last 2 years. I went in sort of the way I kind of, like I said, maybe I was projecting on Aaron Rodgers, where I kind of felt like I had the expectations set there. And when it was dashed, I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed. And this year, I don't know. It felt like I've talked about this before, and I wrote some pieces for Game On about it. My personal relationship with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback of the team I root for, where.
Are you guys buds? You guys tight?
That's why I put relationship in quotes. Like I went into this season like just kind of feeling like in the postseason, if this happens, it happens. It should happen because of everything that we've put together. And then when it didn't happen, I didn't have that same like immediate like pit in my stomach that I had before, because for me personally, with Aaron Rodgers in that situation, this whole season, it's kind of, I don't think I'm alone on this. My relationship as Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback has soured. And at this point, if he wants to come back and be the quarterback of my team, super. If he doesn't, I wipe my hands. It's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun. Let's move on. I'm ready, personally, as a fan of this team. I'm ready for whatever the future is. I'm not worrying about Aaron Rodgers' career and his personal achievements or getting this ring for Aaron or any of that stuff. I'm ready to move on with this team, however it gets fit together next year, and I'm just accepting the future with open arms at this point. I'm ready for whatever comes.
I think the big thing isn't so much that like his off-field situation and all the stuff that was brought on led to that. I think it's more so we've all had a year to process it. Like, last year kind of came as a shock to us, like, holy fuck, he might not be our quarterback. But for this whole year, we've been able to kind of cope with, okay, this might be his last year. So I really think like taking all the off-field stuff that people are upset about, I think it's more so we had a long time to process this whole situation.
Yeah.
And people are okay with moving on now because we've kind of seen it coming. But I think, like I said previously, I think we're in a good situation either way. We either run it back and we're a Super Bowl contender, or we move on and we're a playoff team that we could get hot. And who knows? We don't know what we have in Jordan Love. So for all we know, he's a third Hall of Famer in a row, or he's the fucking dud we move on from next season.
Do it.
So like, there's that weird attractiveness of the mystery of it all. Like I said to Todd the other day, he gave me a weird look. There's a part of me that's excited not to have a Hall of Fame quarterback for the first time in 30 years, because
it's so fucked up that's how we think.
Well, I know,
I'm with you, Jimmy. I have the same feeling.
Yeah. There's like a sense of like, well, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I would hate to have a great quarterback.
Excitement.
Center. Like, well, no, be the fucking Chicago Bears. Let's just stop having good quarterbacks. Let's just start trotting out fucking any turd we can. Caleb Haney, come on in. Take some fucking snaps.
You know that's not what I mean. All I'm saying is it's just we don't know what's going to happen. And for the last 30 years, we knew we had a really fucking solid person there. And now it's just that weird kind of what's going to happen. That's kind of exciting, scares the shit out of me, but it could turn out awesome. Like there's a sense of excitement. I'm anxious as hell about it, but I'm also intrigued on what could possibly come.
You're intrigued by the unknown. You're not excited to not have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like
that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Because I mean, I get it too. You look at and think, okay, if Rodgers isn't here, I'm fine with Jordan Love. Like, let's see what it is. I'm interested to find out what's there. But I still want Aaron Rodgers taking snaps under center if that's an option. Like that's my number one choice if you give me that. I think when you look at with Rodgers this year, kind of felt almost like I'm doing you guys a favor by being here. Like I'll do you a solid. I'll come back and be the quarterback this year and go from there. I think if he comes in next year, like, again, I don't care too much about what he says and does off the field. He can go on Pat McAfee and talk about flat earth with Kyrie for all I care. Like, I truly don't give a shit. But I feel like the attitude of I'm here as a favor to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
He proved this year, this weekend, he proved that it's no favor to us, you being here, because when it mattered most, you pissed down your leg. So we'll do you a favor. We'll restructure your deal. We'll add a little security to it and bring you back for a few more if that's what you're looking for. But you're here for what we tell you to be here for.
Yeah. I think it goes back, and let's
Pick
stop
it.
it, guys. Jesus, come on.
Pick it.
Yeah, Todd's getting too much love. I said nice things, guys. Giving me a damn praise. God damn it.
I think ultimately what it comes down to is, like you said, Todd, it felt like Aaron Rodgers was the odd man out when it came to the organization as a whole. And let me explain. In the years past, it was they need to go out and do this. The front office needs to do this. They need to do this. The defense needs to step up. Wide receivers need to do this for Aaron Rodgers. That's why he's losing. Well, now we had a whole year of other guys stepping up. Defense is stepping up. The front office doing what they wanted for Aaron. Aaron Rodgers, subsequently, had an amazing season. He also did a lot of stuff in the offseason and during the season that I think alienated a lot of people's opinion about him and his position on the team. And now we're at this position where usually, like last year, it was, well, are we going to have him back? What do we need to do to have him back? They need the front office needs to do this to get him back. They need to do this to get him back. Well, now it's we're content. We know who we are. We're not in this toxic relationship anymore. We've learned to love ourselves as the Packers and Packer fans. If you want to love us in a healthy way and be a part of this team and help us win, super. If you don't want to be,
I feel like this was Kelsey talking to you the other night as you were like panicking to drive her to the hospital. And she was like, Dan, it's time to go. And you just like freaked out. And she was like, Dan, if we're loving ourselves here, okay? And if you can just love yourself and us in a healthy way, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna win. If not, let me know because I need to call a fucking Uber like now.
Dan, how was your trip to the hospital? Was she going through like heart contractions? Or was it pretty...
Well, no, I won't get into a lot of it because I don't want to discuss, all of it with her. But we went in without any contractions yet because there were some things that were happening that her doctor had suggested if this continues to go in and just have it checked out. We went in and they decided, you know what, just to be better safe than sorry, he's full term at this point. Let's just have this kid now. And so we went under induction Sunday night. And which, bless up, thank God for amazing football happening Sunday night because it gave us something to pay attention to and focus on those first couple of hours in the both of the rooms there. Thank God for that Chiefs Bills games because that got me through the first couple hours of all of it. But overall, the process was great. She did an amazing job. She's an absolute rock star. Howie is a little healthy baby boy, and that's all we wanted. And so it all worked out for me. It was a perfect scenario for all of us, I think. So
also sorry for that question because sometimes I forget we have 5 people watching, and this might not be information you want shared with everyone. And when Todd said that's personal, I was like, that's a good fucking point. My bad on that one. But if it makes you feel better, I had to drive while Des was in all fours in the trunk of a minivan to our last baby. So it could get worse.
It could have been worse. It could have been worse, but no, overall, everyone's healthy and happy, and that's the important part. And I think that's the important part for this. the football team lost that we root for, and it sucks. Nobody died. Nobody's life changed. We're going to move on, and we're going to be happy. We're going to root for this team. And we're going to be back next year to root for this team and talk every single week again, as we do on Lombardi's Bar. I want to thank everybody for watching throughout the season. I think we'll have 1 or 2 more episodes as we kind of wrap up the season, and throughout the off season, there'll be more stuff coming. So the important thing to do now is to go on to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube page if you haven't done so already to get notifications every time that we go live. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameOnWI on Twitter, Game On Wisconsin on Facebook, so you can find those go live links and share them with your friends and everything else. And also take the chance while you are watching the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, everything. Go online, check out the merch store. The link is up there in the chat. It's up on our socials and everything else. Go on there. There's a bunch of awesome Game On Wisconsin swag. There's show merch if you want to check that out as well. And also just some other really cool Green Bay Packer stuff up there too that Dakota Mitchell has done an amazing job on. But again, thank you to everyone. There's been so many of you that watch the show every week that we see every week. And without you guys, there would be no show. So thank you so much for watching with us throughout the year. We really appreciate it. All the cool shit that we've been able to do, it's for you guys. So thank you very much. Guys, anything you want to say to kind of put a bow on the season this year?
Wish it ended different. I appreciate everyone watching. We have a lot of people like Labo, Emma, Matt, True Packer Fan North. I'm missing people that come in consistently. Yeah, Iowa Joe. Michael, hope you stay with us. You have some great points in the chat that I like to go off of.
And he dropped some fuck bombs. I like that.
Yeah. And you called him AJ Hawk's brother, which I fucking love. So appreciate
Corey,
you guys.
Jay. Yeah, everybody that pops in.
Yeah. We got another week of this, and then we'll go on sporadically as we get guests or big shit happens. But this is a weird, sad part. What
I want to know, let's not get sad yet because we've got another week yet. But what I want to know is why we truncated the show. We've got a drunk tweet of the week, do we not, Dan?
No.
Well, fucking Nick put in the chat to say.
Oh, there isn't one? Okay, then never mind.
And I have dad stuff to do now. I can't sit around at the bar.
Don't even start with this shit. Don't even.
Oh, I got a kid. I can't.
That's going to be the one we put all this shit on now.
No, fuck you guys.
We're taking care of your children, Todd. You have to do it now.
Jimmy, you don't have an excuse. You don't do anything, and you're taking care of my kids already anyways. So
I teach.
Shut the... Dan, you've got free time. I saw you on Twitter today, so don't even tell me that.
I was tweeting with a baby in my hand.
Oh, and you couldn't take a screenshot of a bad tweet that you saw.
I don't want to hear this.
Don't put this on me.
I'm taking this. I'm
the MVP. Don't put more on me. I'm already carrying this shit.
I'm Joe Barry up in this bitch. Don't tell me.
Hey,
Ben, don't break, Dan. Ben, don't break.
I'm special teams in here. Give me the
you're special,
break.
all right.
Guys, you want to just let people know socials are right here. You can follow us on Twitter and everything if you haven't done so already. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. Checking out the website. Got tons of pieces coming up now that it's the off season. We'll be getting ready for a draft and everything else like that. But again, thanks to you guys. We should say, Jimmy and I, a huge thank you to our wives for putting up with a lot of the shit that we kind of throw on them because of this show.
Mostly me. Mostly thanks for putting up with me being a part of you guys' lives. And not only your wives, also producer Nick's wife, Annie.
Shout out,
big
Annie.
ups to yes. Annie needs a huge shout out.
Hey, she gets a Mason Crosby Hall pass. She's fine.
That's true.
Is there?
Yeah. All right, guys. For producer Nick, for Todd, for Jimmy, I'm Dan the bartender saying cheers. Enjoy the next couple of games of football that we have left, and we'll see you back again next week. And as always, no matter what, go Pack, go.
Go Pack.
Go Pack.